Bhajahure mana Sri Nanda Nandanaya Bhaya Charanara Bindare Bhajahure mana Sri Nanda Nandanaya Bhaya Charanara Bindare.
Him that now she has a connection with Ramakrishna mission, and she is, believes in the impersonal philosophy of what's his name, Vivekananda, and the leader of the Ramakrishna mission, and now that lady is sitting there with the group of devotees at the lotus feet of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who is going to speak to her. Maybe she shouldn't have been brought there. What he speaks is too high. It was inappropriate to bring her there. Bring only qualified devotees to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and who will decide who's qualified and who's not? That is why for 25 years none of the recordings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj were distributed to anyone, except a few qualified devotees, right? The elite devotees. And we, Gokulananda Prabhu and myself, distributed them for everyone. We put them on the internet. And I told Srila Govinda Maharaj about it. He was happy. And he told again and again other devotees who came to him asking him, can we publish something of Srila Sridhar Maharaj? Can we publish something, can we take recordings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj and publish them in our newspaper, journal, book, whatever? And he said, I always immediately gave my okay, and then went to Guru Maharaj to ask him permission, take his permission, which he always gave.
Who went to Guru Maharaj?
Govinda Maharaj.
In Samadhi?
Huh?
In his Samadhi? I mean, when
No,
Guru
no,
Maharaj
no.
was still,
During
present?
during his time.
During his time?
Yeah.
And Guru Maharaj gave permission.
But he was
And after his time, after Guru Maharaj's, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's disappearance, Govinda Maharaj gave this, continued, always, I never refused anyone this request. But why, he didn't say, well, first, check it out with so-and-so, and we'll decide if it's too high or not. And if it's too high, then you won't be able to use that portion. He said, he was proud of his Guru Maharaj's preaching, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's preaching. He wanted the world to hear the preaching of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, of course. Srila Govinda Maharaj. Srila Govinda Maharaj. How many ways do I have to prove this? Srila Govinda Maharaj told Srila Sridhar Maharaj he should not express in his Bhagavad Gita this Chipram Bhavati Dharmatma, his explanation of that verse, Apichet Sudaracharo Chipram Bhavati Dharmatma, etc., right? Govinda Maharaj and other god brothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj told Srila Sridhar Maharaj, don't expose that to the public in your Bhagavad Gita. They will misuse it. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, no, I'm going to present it to the public. If I don't do it, who will? Well, what about that? So we have to eliminate everyone so that a few people don't get something that they misunderstand. Because a few may misunderstand something, then no one gets the nectar. We won't distribute nectar because some people may abuse it. So we'll stop the nectar distribution. Well,
Start the
not
sticker.
me.
Start the sticker distribution.
Right.
The sticker
Yeah,
will
they
stick
can
it.
understand that.
They may not understand that.
The sticker
Maybe
will
too
stick.
high a sticker.
Oh
on
yeah,
the
but
face.
then we'll have arguments. This sticker is too high for the
Right.
show.
But at least the sticker will stick.
Yeah.
The Guru Maharaj reception may not stick.
You cannot print sweatshirts with that logo because no one will understand the highest thing.
It can go on and on, but I never, maybe it's just me, but I never believed that. I never accepted it, and I don't believe it today, and I don't think anyone will ever convince me.
So the gentleman here next door, this house here, we can go there and give him the Prapana Jivanamrita?
Why not?
Subjective
I suggest that you take a donation, but if you want to give it to him, why not?
Take the Sri
Sri
Brahma
Prabhupada,
Samhita too with it.
Sri Prapana Jivana Amrita, the life,
It's
the soul of the eternal.
it's not Krishna Karnamrita.
It's Jivana Amrita.
Is he a jiva?
He's a Jiva.
Does he need to know what his Amrita is? Where to get it?
Well, we got it.
His qualification will be that he accepts it. How did we get into this anyway?
What about all our discussions about the editing of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's tapes? We were both convinced so much was going to have to come out based on all these statements from other people that, oh, you're going to besmirch the name of Sridhar Maharaj by just in an unvarnished way putting out these tapes made of him. And in the end, Srila Giri Maharaj went through every tape himself. And the amount that came out, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Maharaj, I believe it was less than 3 minutes
Yeah.
on 3 or 4 tapes.
Could be measured in seconds.
Yeah. And so that, for 30 years, no one can get access to Srila Sridhar Maharaj's words? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Shame. So low down dirty.
Not only is ridiculous, but it was against the expressed desire of Srila Sridhar Maharaj himself.
What was the option, the contentious that with the 3 minutes?
Well, we're not going to say, are we?
Because if we tell you.
It's too high.
No, you said there were 3 minutes of what?
This is going to be public probably, so I can't talk about it.
Yeah, it's nothing bad. I just remember like some
I see.
side conversations that we didn't feel
Oh, okay.
were relevant.
Family conversation. Intimate.
No.
Anyway, no, that's not so important.
I can tell you afterwards, but
So now we're going to get all these emails and
yeah,
the blog. We want them, Terry.
yeah, right.
But it's only 3
Well,
minutes.
and I think they can get some more of it because I was listening to one of these, and now I don't know why we restricted it.
Yeah.
So, in time, I think more and more will come out. Anyway, Krishnadas Kaviraj gave the prescription himself. He's giving Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he's telling that that this will only be understood by the devotees. Those who can't understand it, they're not going to be interested in it.
So, that's
So distribute it to everyone. And those who don't, they're not interested, they're not going to give attention to it. But those who are interested will have the nectar of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I feel like many of our devotees have been like under a dark cloud, afraid to preach Krishna consciousness because of, one thing or another. But Saraswati Thakur wasn't afraid. Guru Maharaj Srila Sridhar Maharaj wasn't afraid. Srila Swami Maharaj wasn't afraid. Govinda Maharaj wasn't afraid.
Cookie table.
Well,
Those are related to maintenance and stuff.
what comes out of necessity, I'm not going to, I'm not criticizing anything in particular. I'm not criticizing what is done. Collecting is completely bona fide for us, right? Collecting donations from the public to get them to contribute something we talked about yesterday. That means we're giving them sukriti. We're giving them something, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. And that was approved by Srila Sridhar Maharaj also. So collecting, there's nothing wrong with collecting. But what is best is to support our temples through book distribution. Prabhupada said it was best. Govinda Maharaj said it was best. Saraswati Thakur, I think it's pretty fair to say he thought it was a good idea. He tried to do that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj approved and lauded. Where did Srila Sridhar Maharaj glorifies Swami Maharaj to no end, glorifies his organization that he created, ISKCON, that brought all of these, that fulfilled the vision of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that brought these thousands of people from all over the world to Mayapur to chant the names of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So how did that happen? Book distribution. Wasn't that Prabhupada's method, Swami Maharaj's method? That was his program. That was the essence of his program, was distribute as many books as possible.
But he was following the instruction of his guru.
Yeah. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj's remark about it was that he fulfilled the desire of Saraswati Thakur. Saraswati Thakur began, Bhaktivinoda Thakur conceived, Saraswati Thakur began to put that into practical application, and Swami Maharaj fulfilled. That's what Srila Sridhar Maharaj said. And how did Swami Maharaj fulfill? Distribute my books. Distribute books. Very important. And read the books. Understand the books. Discuss them amongst yourselves from different angles of vision, right? Have discussions of the philosophy. Well, these two things. When I first went to ask Srila Sridhar Maharaj for sannyas, after asking him, he asked Sagar Maharaj, at that time, Akainanda Maharaj, and he didn't know I was sitting there right next to Akainanda Maharaj. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj was asking, do you know this Kanupriya?
Who?
Kanupriya, that was my brahmachari name.
Kanupriya.
Kanupriya. I know him a little bit. And Akainanda Maharaj was saying he's a big book distributor, like he was, promoting me, like he's a big book distributor.
You didn't know that you were sitting next to him?
Sridhar Maharaj didn't know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. And Sridhar Maharaj said, but does he know what's in the books?
Oh, it was you about this story.
Yeah.
I always hear
I
this
guess
story,
so.
but I never knew who was it.
Okay.
Now you know.
It
The
was
rest
referring
of
to
the
you.
yeah.
Kanupriya Brahmachari.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we heard that story, as Guru Maharaj was saying.
Yes, I heard the same story.
You heard that too?
Yeah,
So, but does he know
I'm
why
just
he's-
now realizing, and you
I didn't
even
know
told
was
me you're
referring to
brahmachari.
you. I wasn't. Was yeah, it's famous this story.
Yeah.
But does he know what?
Well,
he's
I didn't
reading?
know it was, so we have to distribute the books, and we should know what's in the books also.
Did you know what was written in the book?
I got sannyas.
So then, okay, then you knew.
Something.
I'm still learning, but he gave me sannyas.
No, but in ISKCON, I had godbrothers with the BBT.
Yeah, that was Prabhupada's hope, Swami Maharaj's
That
hope.
was his story and plan. They give 50% to the BBT and 50% they pay the bills and stuff. That's okay?
Yeah, sure.
He has wife, children.
Prabhupada would, I mean, who wouldn't be happy if the grihastas were supporting themselves through book distribution?
I mean, Grihasta, I always heard that Grihasta has to work and give a donation, possibly whatever he can.
What better work than distributing books? Preaching.
Take it as a job?
Huh?
You take that as a job, as a work?
Prabhupada saw it as, yeah, as like something like, I mean, not a job, but he just said, Prabhupada didn't demand it, but he said that he thought that was the best way for, first of all, it was his preference, Swami Maharaj's preference. If the householders could support themselves through book distribution, they should do that. It was his, completely, of course. Absolutely.
It's not kind of seen as a way of business and doing business with the Bhagavatam. No?
Not by him.
Because there's a difference between that idea expressed as making business of the Bhagavatam and distributing as a Vaishnava. The other person actually doesn't care what's written there. They may learn to recite it, but they're not actually interested in the words, they're interested in the money by reciting the words.
But the Grihasta is interested in getting something for maintaining his
No,
living
that's by
style.
default of the distribution.
Everyone has to maintain themselves.
With making business with the books.
Something.
The holy books.
No, I
Everyone's
mean,
gotta earn a living.
Huh?
Something
Might
to
as well
live
be spiritual life.
to live ourselves.
What do you say?
Everyone has to earn a living,
Uh-huh.
referring to grihastas.
But this, my friend, is many years, maybe 30 years.
can a grihasta teach
Teach in a school, you mean?
anywhere?
Uh-huh.
Can it,
Sure.
but in the Vedic culture, it wasn't allowed to teach for a salary. You could only teach and accept donations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that forbidden for a grihasta to accept a job teaching?
So you see that as a teaching, book distribution?
No, I'm just saying. I think you're it's maybe a coarse, rough analogy, but from the Vedic perspective, a teacher is. Oh, you should do those. Did you already start those? This is probably a good time. A teacher is a guru. A teacher is an acharya. May not be a spiritual acharya. It may be any number of other things, like Dronacharya. He taught the Pandavas the art of using weapons, and the Kurus, the sons of Dhritarashtra, the art of using weapons. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he was an acharya, Drona acharya. So he was a teacher, and so that's who is teaching like that. A Brahmin, a teacher is supposed to be a Brahmin, in the class of Brahmin. So they're not supposed to be in the service of anyone. Right? You know what that means? They're not supposed to work for. They're not supposed to work for someone. They're not supposed to punch in, take a salary, remuneration, become the slave of their employer. They're supposed to be independent.
Right.
So to be independent, you can't be at the beck and call of some employer. You have to be your service. You're teaching whatever your service is that you're providing, and in response to that, you're getting donations which maintain you, which support you, your family, everything, your lifestyle.
But why you say that?
Brahmins live by donations.
So you may say, you're saying that the Grihastha was distributing books, they're living by donations?
No, I'm just saying that what is your objection to you're raising some objection to Grihastha supporting himself by distributing books, right?
Not any books, but Bhagavatam and
Yeah.
holy books.
Right.
Right.
But does someone need to distribute them?
I always had the idea that those who are living in the temple.
Swami
books
Maharaj, the Guru wants his books distributed.
Right, but for supporting the temple, not for supporting.
That will come also. The temple or the whoever is publishing the books, they can take some commission also, right?
Yeah, the 50%. Yeah. They take 50%. I mean, they buy book from the BBT, and that's how the BBT make money.
Right. So anyway, however the mechanics of it are, whatever the details are, the Grihastha can buy books from the temple or from the BBT or from whatever, and sell them.
Whatever they sell.
And the Grihastha actually, not selling, he's distributing and he's taking donations for the books. He's living the life of a Brahmin. He's living on donations from the public, right?
So you say that he's actually getting donation, he's not selling them.
Yeah.
Somebody gives a price of money that is below the printing cost, so he has to give it anyway.
Give what?
He cannot afford to give $10, which is the money that he paid for that book.
You were a book distributor. Did you say this book is $5, $10?
What we were saying is that we pay $10 for the printing. Whatever you can give more, you can give. And they used to give for 20.
Okay, so
Sounds like a good
we give a suggestion how much we pay.
right, a suggestion, right? That's not selling.
Yeah, just to give us a because some people were coming with $3.
Yeah, right.
And they say, well, we can't print another one.
And I can't tell you how many thousands of books I distributed at below and far below the cost to us.
Yeah, no. Another way was that sometimes we were meeting not many, but 5, 6 people in a day that they were giving $100 for one book. So what we were supposed to sell to get,
Right.
it was at least $20.
So if someone gives $1,
So when somebody was giving $10, we would give it anyway because the one
Right.
before we gave $100.
right?
You need to keep the tabulation going in your head all day. Am I ahead? Just as long as you're going ahead.
Well, when somebody give $100, you remember. It's not something unusual. So then
You tired?
Huh?
Her head says no, her eyes says yes.
And also this Prabhu, Vasudev, Prabhu, his name, he started in 78 as a brahmachari to do book distribution. Then in the meantime he married and everything, which and he called me one time here. We talked, we were friends. He said, what I'm gonna do? I've been distributing book for 30 years. Where am I gonna find a job? And to hire a house and a child now. And I don't know what to do. resort. That's all he knew. 30 years, that's a lot, many years, you know.
Well, I imagine someone that's done that successfully for 30 years could get just about any job he wanted.
Yeah, he can sell anything. He can sell dirt to the
Armor.
cook. Yeah,
Sell dirt to
you know,
the
Can
whatever.
sell what?
Dirt to cook. You know, for the cook.
Stone soup.
Can sell
So,
dirt
yeah,
to
he can
cooks.
Sell, this dirt is good for making us soup.
Right,
He
right.
can even sell that, but he doesn't want to do that, you know.
So
But
train
because he was
station.
not selling it.
Train station.
station.
So have we covered
That was-
covered the point or sufficiently?
What is it?
Have we covered your question and so forth sufficiently?
So, good book distribution is
Always
Perfect.
good.
always good, is perfect. and is
Not
accurate.
nothing is perfect, but it's very good engagement for
The reason why Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math did not engage in book distribution as ISKCON was because some disciples suggested that we have different ways,
All
which
I-
is not wrong, which is not
all
wrong.
all I know is that all I can say for absolute fact is that it wasn't done, hasn't been done, and my personal outlook on it is I explained the reason why I believe it wasn't done. It wasn't because Govinda Maharaj discouraged it, or Srila Sridhar Maharaj discouraged it.
Because they had another way they possibly
Other
possible
temple
way.
presidents, leaders, whatever, they. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this idea. You said, "Oh, these books are too high."
But that's
Well,
one
then,
point.
then you don't have any book to distribute. Then how are you going to support your temple or do any book distribution?
They might have find that giving stickers was easier than books also.
Bingo.
Which
Yeah.
is it? It is.
It is, yeah, it
If
is.
you don't want to preach to somebody or you don't want to ask, what is this book? You know, don't want to
But
waste.
you see, then at that point, that's the transformation that Giri Maharaj has been talking to me about for the last 20 years, easily. That once you move from a bona fide method of preaching into the sticker world, into the rock
I'm not
t-shirt,
saying it's not bona fide. There's nothing
for collection purposes, it is. But these,
What?
to collect, the pick,
Right.
right? We don't use that word anymore, please forgive me. But for collection purposes, for the temple, absolutely fine. But what the problem was, and I saw with my own eyes in ISKCON, that the leaders were telling the once book distributors, the sticker distribution is as good as the book distribution. And that the book, somehow by doing book distribution, it's an inferior service, right?
You heard that too?
That somehow, because it wasn't making as much money, they could do a lot more stickers. Right?
Oh, I see.
They can do a lot more t-shirts. The t-shirts were therefore better than book distribution.
You see,
But you yourself just said, but there's no real preaching.
Look, I have a feeling that you're waving your hand in front of the camera lens.
No, we're good.
Okay.
you see, in Europe,
This is where.
in Europe, where there was no sticker and no T-shirt.
Hmm.
In Europe
Mm-hmm.
and in Italy, in France, there was no sticker distribution. So book distribution was the highest. So what do you say, no?
That's good.
Because it became a way to support the temple. But you say that they found sticker was more
Well, that was like
easy, more
the
easy
stickers.
going.
Well,
So that was the highest.
you
That
said
was
it.
That was the highest.
Well, I don't know anything about that stuff, but it's easier. It's easier to collect that way. If for collecting money, then there are easier ways of collecting money. I admit it. There are much easier ways of collecting money than through book distribution. But that because it's easier doesn't necessarily mean it's better, and I don't think it is better. And I don't think Govinda Maharaj thought it was better, or anyone thought it was better of our gurus. But it's better than nothing.
preaching is the best. What do you say?
Yeah,
Combine-
for the preaching, is that what we are? Aren't
But it
we?
combines
Aren't we a preaching mission?
Right. No. What they say it combines the two ways: the preaching and the supporting of the family.
Right.
When-
Exactly. Well,
this is what I would say.
that was Govinda Maharaj's point.
While the other items that you may do for collecting is only taking one side
Right,
of
right,
the problem, which
right.
is the supporting of the temple.
Right.
Which is great.
Which is great. But
What
there's
about-
not the preaching. When we are preachers, like you were saying,
But
we
what
are
about the
preaching movement.
public? You see, what are we doing for the public? We're giving them some sukriti, no doubt, but leaving that book, which can then influence them, even if it's on the shelf.
Yes.
This is the grandest way.
Right. No, because Srila Giri Maharaja you start talking that we are organizing preaching institution. This was the beginning of your.
Mm-hmm. Right. Saraswati
Talking.
Thakur began that preaching in an organized fashion.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you say? No.
Saraswati Thakur. Well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur conceived of
Right.
the idea.
Right. 'Cause that was your beginning of your.
Yeah.
So we're going. We are.
And
connecting
Saraswati Thakur inaugurated Brihat Mridanga, book distribution, magazine, newspaper, journals, publications. Distribute them. Whenever, if you ever get in his instruction to Swami Maharaj, if you ever get any money, print books. Okay, I've printed books, now what? Put them in a warehouse? And now the mold is ruining them, they're sitting in the warehouse for 20 years? What's the point of that?
Once the rats. We had books. A big warehouse of books. The rats ate them.
Yeah.
It's
So-
not that they eat
so
the
there-
whole book.
so-
They eat one little bit here, a little bit there. All the books were damaged because they eat a little bit here.
At least
So-
some jiva was nourished, but we could have distributed those to
I
people.
don't think they're getting much nourishment from cellulose, right? But at any rate, if you get money, print books. Why have a printing press if you're not going to distribute what you print, right? I mean, it's just this is like mathematics again, right? Simple thing. What comes in has to go out. If you're printing a supply of books, you got to get them out. Distribute them.
It remind me of.
Well, anyway,
Anyway,
we're
yeah.
kind of going along here.
You
I
want to
think.
talk? You want to stop? Okay. Sure.
I was going to tell you this all started from my point that it may not be the easiest thing, to which you remarked. No, the police are stopping us and telling us, "Do you have Nectar of Devotion? I want that book." But my point is, it's not easy. I don't believe it's easy, and I did a lot of it, and I found it to be difficult to do. I did it because my guru wanted it done, so I tried my best, and I saw that others also did the same thing, and the public is not. If the public is not beating our doors down to get these books, and they're not, running after us, can I get one? Can I get one? Can I get one? We have to persuade them. We have to cajole them. We have to entice them. Please take this book, give a donation, read it, and come to our temple, come to our mat, come to our ashram, and learn more about this, right? You will be benefited by that. This is the greatest benefit for your life. And many of us know the benefit of that we got a book, we got a magazine, we got something like that, some printed matter, and changed. It was the beginning of a life change for us, the beginning of a change of our life, a positive thing. Incredible, benefit, unlimited benefit. So Saraswat, so Srila Sridhar Maharaj told a story which I was going to tell. It's not a long story, but just a short thing that he was talking about during the time of Saraswati Thakur. This sort of comes up because I won't get, that'll branch off in another direction. But during the time of Saraswati Thakur, he used to send his brahmacharis to the train station in Navadvip to sell his magazines. And so they would, the train would come in, and they would hold up the magazine and whatever, I can't remember, Nadia Prakash or Gaudiya or something, I don't remember what it was. May have been, several. And they would, try to persuade people to buy it. And they were ridiculed by the public. The Bengalis of Navadvip, right? Ridiculed. Oh, why don't you get a job? You ever heard that?
This Guru Maharaj used to say that.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, he said that he was relating the history of Saraswati Thakur.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that? When you were out on book distribution, why don't you get a job?
We told them, I already have a job. This is
Yeah,
a job.
but you heard that?
Yeah, many times.
Yeah, right.
That was our answer. So, this is our job.
Yeah, well, my point is, it's not new.
No, yeah, they say all the time.
From the time of Saraswati Thakur, his brahmacharis in the Navadvip train station are hearing the same thing. And people are ridiculing them and making jokes about them and spitting on them. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said they would spit on them.
No.
Yes.
We used to beat them if they do something.
Well, he didn't mention that, but that was taking place. So preaching, as Srila Swami Maharaj said it, preaching is a thankless task.
Is it what?
Thankless. No one is going to thank you for preaching. It's without thanks, right? It's rather with no thanks.
Thankless preach.
Thankless. Without thanks. But it may not be very pleasing to the public, whether it's 1935 or 2012. But it's very pleasing to our gurus. And Saraswati Thakur was very happy with those brahmacharis who underwent that austerity. And
Bengali people, I cannot believe it. Bengali people who were supposed to honor sadhu.
Oh, no. They're very, very tough.
Prabhu, people are people. I mean, there's some difference, but
There can be very crude people.
we're living in the world of exploitation. There's a reason that we're here. It's not because everyone here in this world is just waiting to be a great devotee of Mahaprabhu.